If you are new here, don't expect this all year long. This is not the usual thing that we have going on here. I'm here for that vibe. So yeah, the Goodie box subscription is limited. Hello pals, welcome back to the vlog. And if you don't know me, my name is Sherelle. I am an artist, illustrator and drinker of tea, coming at you with my very festive mug this morning. In my very festive surroundings. This is not the usual vibe, but I am still technically on my Christmas break. So I thought rather than being in the studio to film this little video, I thought we would do it from the festive front room. If you are new here, don't expect this all year long. This is not the usual thing that we have going on here. It is currently the 2nd of January and really I was going to film this video before New Year, but it didn't happen, so here we are. But since it is New Year, I thought it was a good idea to do like a 2024 roundup plus a kind of 2025 this is what I'm aiming for, kind of like a goal setting type video, but not maybe not that in depth as a goal setting type video, just a general this is the vibe for the year kind of thing. So let's get into it. Are you coming up? Right, sit. Frank's decided he's going to come join me for a little while. I hope you sit still. I can't film a video if you're fidgeting around, okay? Sit still. So let's start off this video with 2024 and some things that went well, some things that didn't go quite so well, and some things that, yeah, I probably won't be taking forward into 2025. First up, something that has gone well for me this year has been greeting cards, which was unexpected, but it's definitely happened. My Etsy seems to just kind of tick itself over with greeting card sales, which is really, really great. I don't have a huge selection of greeting cards. I have maybe like a handful of designs that just basically seem to sell on repeat, which is great. Like, I'm here for that vibe. And because it's done on Etsy, I don't have to spend a lot of time promoting those cards. It just kind of, the SEO is working for them and they just kind of tick themselves over and it's all good stuff. So I just have to pick and pack the orders. That said, I'm not going to say I didn't put any effort or any work into that, because I obviously have done. I obviously put the effort in when those listings went up to figure out the SEO and figure out how I'm going to get these cards seen on Etsy. But the biggest thing I think is that I've kind of accidentally fallen into a niche which there are not a lot of options for. My best selling greeting cards are anniversary cards. And don't get me wrong, there are lots of anniversary cards on Etsy, but I kind of went for the specific year anniversaries. So, and this is going to be different depending on where you are in the world, but for the UK at least, the first anniversary is paper, the second is cotton, the third I think is wood. No, I've got a feeling that's 5. I'm not sure what the third is actually. Maybe I don't have a card for that. Anyway, I've basically just gone into like those specific anniversary kind of niches and gone with those specific years and created cards around that. So because that is something that has gone well for me this year, it is something I want to lean into more for next year, although we're in next year now. Hold on. That is something that went well for me last year. I want to lean into it more this year. And that's basically going to look like creating more greeting cards for a bigger variety of occasions and just seeing how that goes. I would love to get my greeting cards into some actual shops, which I kind of trialed a bit this year. And this is going to kind of lead on to something that didn't go so well for me this past year. I keep saying this year, but I mean last year. If I'm saying this year, I mean 2024. If I'm saying next year, I mean 2025, even though it's already 2025. But we've only been here for like 2 days, so I can't get my head around this yet. Something that did not go particularly well for me in 2024 was trialing getting my products into some shops. Now, what I did was a rent a shelf type situation. It didn't go that well the first couple of months. I think I've been in the shop for 6 months, or I will have been in for 6 months by the time my shelf rental period is like coming to an end. The first 3 months I didn't do very well at all. People who run the shop reached out to me and they were like, we think the reason you're not doing very well is because you have a lot of greeting cards and they're not in our greeting cards section of the shop. They're just on your shelf. Would it be okay if we moved them? And I'm like, absolutely. I didn't know there was a greeting card section in the shop. So ideally I'd have been there from the start and perhaps I would have seen my cards do a bit better. But that said, that's not the way it went. So after the initial 3-month period, I stayed on for another 3-month period, which will end at the end of January. This second time I've signed up, I've done so much better, but still not well enough, I don't think, to warrant staying and paying the rental fee and doing all that stuff. Because it's a lot of logistics. It's a lot of keeping track of what stock I have in the shop, because it's done on a rent a shelf basis. That stock is not bought by the shop. That stock is not sold. That is still an asset that is like my asset. I still own all that stock. So I found it really difficult keeping track of what stock's in the shop and remembering that like I'm gonna have to restock stuff and that I'm gonna have to move stock around, because once it's not Christmas anymore, the Christmas stock is gonna have to come out. I'm gonna have to replace that with something. I have found this situation really, really difficult to manage. I feel like I would be more inclined to like keep up with it if I was seeing a good return on it. But because I'm not seeing a really good return on it, I'm finding it really, really difficult to do all that logistics work. It is something I find incredibly difficult. I am definitely an out of sight, out of mind person. I always have been, and I know that about myself. And really, I probably should have thought about this going into this shelf rental thing, that what I can't see, I find really difficult to manage, because if I can't see it, it doesn't exist. So I have found this situation really, really difficult to manage. The way I would like to see my greeting cards get into shops would be through wholesale. And I have tried to apply to Fair, which is like an online wholesale marketplace. So it's kind of like Etsy, but for wholesale. So I would love to get myself on Fair. I have applied several times and been rejected every single time. And I can't for the life of me work out why. But they don't want me on Fair for some reason. So yeah, I'm going to apply again. That's one thing I'd like to do, because for me and the way that my brain works and the way that I know that I'm going to be able to work most efficiently, if I can sell my cards in wholesale, that is going to be the best option for me, because I don't have to then keep track of the inventory and I don't have to remember to rotate stock and stuff. It can just be, this is a wholesale order, it's out the door, and then it's up to somebody else to manage that, because it's then their stock, not my stock anymore. Does that even make sense? So that is something I would like to do in this year, in 2025, is to figure out how I can sell more cards wholesale so that they do go into shops and it's not on a shelf rental basis. I would consider consignment also, which is where somebody basically buys a bunch of stock from you, but if it doesn't sell, they can then send it back. So I would consider that also. So yeah, that is something I want to take forward, lean into a bit more in 2025, is greeting cards, and then off the back of that, potentially getting more wholesale orders for greeting cards. I say more as if I've even had one. I haven't. But yeah, wholesale orders for greeting cards, because getting the greeting cards into shops would be really, really cool. So that is something that has gone well for me, but also off the back of that, there's something that's not gone so well for me. Another thing that did not go so well for me in 2024 was in-person markets. I think I figured out why that didn't go so well for me. I think the last market I did like a debrief on YouTube, and I don't know how many vlogs back it was, but it's probably in the title somewhere. So if you're interested, like, to see how my markets have gone, then go look for those videos. Yeah, the last market I did a bit of a debrief, and I was like, it was okay, it wasn't brilliant. And that's kind of the vibe I've had from all the markets I've done. Like, we've done okay, but not great. And I'm not going to sit here and say I've done hundreds and hundreds of markets, because I really haven't. I've done a handful of markets. And I think that in and of itself is the problem. If you are setting up your business in a way that you are able to turn up to several markets a week, so if you are able to have everything prepared in a way that it's continually prepared, and you are able to take 2 days off in the week but also work a Saturday, Sunday and do a market every weekend, I think markets could probably work out okay. As long as you know what kind of market it is. Like, I'm not going to lie, some markets just are not worth doing at all because they're not well advertised and they do not have the traffic that you need to actually make sales. But if you are someone who knows which markets are worth doing, and you are set up in such a way that you can just rock up to these markets with little to no preparation because your business is already set up that way, I think you could do really, really well at markets. For me, that's not the way it works. I do not have the flexibility to just turn up to a market every single weekend. I do not have the setup that allows me to just constantly be stocked for a market and to be able to just pull stock out of my backside at a moment's notice. I think if that is something that you want to do and that is like the main thing of your business, then absolutely you can make that work and you could do better than I did at markets this year. But I think I said I did it again in 2024, but for me markets have not gone particularly well, and it's purely because of the way that my business is set up and the way I like to run things. The entire reason I work for myself is for flexibility, it's for time, it's for being able to just set my own schedule and be able to work around life. And I think if you are setting up for markets, like, you can't just work around that. If you have a market at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning, you can't just go, I think I'll push that back till Sunday. You can't. That's not the way it works. So for me, I think markets are not going to be a big part of my business. I'm pretty sure I said this exact same thing this time last year. Even so, I continue to do the odd few markets thinking like, maybe it will get better. Maybe I will be able to figure this out. But I think I figured out already that markets are just not for me, and that's okay. There are other avenues where I'm doing business that people who do markets consistently will not be doing their business, and that's absolutely fine. We do not all have to look the same. That said, I do really enjoy the in-person markets. Like, I like going and like meeting people and doing stuff. So I'm not going to say I'm not going to do any markets, but if I do any markets, it's kind of going to be as more like a fun activity rather than this is going to be like a moneymaker kind of activity, which realistically, when I'm saying that out loud, I'm like, am I then going to go and spend money doing a market when I know I'm not going to probably see a very good return on it? Don't get me wrong, I've not made a loss on a market yet, aside from one market I made a loss on. The others I have at least made a profit. It's just not a big enough profit to warrant a whole week's worth of prep and me taking 6 hours out of a day to go and do the market. And this is what I'm saying, like, if you're set up in a way that you don't have to do a week's worth of prep for your market because your stock is just there and just, you're just turning that stock over anyway, and you're able to just take from the stock that you have and go up to the market, then actually that would probably work for you. But for me, doing a market is a week's worth of prep plus the market day. So it's like 6 days worth of work for not a big enough return that I'm happy to put in 6 days worth of work for it, if you see what I mean. So that is another thing that has not done particularly well for me in 2024. And, I've got the data, I've got some evidence now, and I think I know what I'm going to do with that data moving forward into 2025. Now that we're in 2025, I have set some goals. I'm not a massive goal setter type person, but I kind of like to set like an intention at the start of the year and try and like use that to determine some of the decision making I do through the year. And my word for the year for 2025 is longevity. It's really just about me thinking about things before I do stuff and making sure that it's something that can stand the test of time a little bit more. And this has come off the back of something that actually went really, really well in 2024. That's a motorbike. You don't need to bark at that. Good boy. That's nice. Good boy. Yes, you go back to sleep. Something that has actually gone really, really well in 2024, which is goodie bags. Now, my plan for 2024 with goodie bags was to do one a month, and I promised myself, after I released my first goodie bag, I had a message from a customer almost straight away being like, oh my God, please put this on subscription. I want it every single month. And off the back of that comment, I decided that if I was still doing goodie bags in a year's time, then I would make that happen. The idea was that I went through 2024 making one goodie bag a month to prove to myself it was doable. And then if it was doable and I felt like it was sustainable, it would be something that I incorporate into a subscription type thing so that I can carry on doing goodie bags because I really, really love doing them. Now, towards the end of 2024, there was a bit of a hiccup with me producing goodie bags and goodie boxes. It got to the summer and I don't film through the summer. And YouTube is like my main avenue for telling people what's going on in my business and telling people when new products are available. I don't film through the summer. It's a miracle I'm even filming today. I don't know if you can hear the background noise because when there are other people in the house, namely children, it's really, really noisy. It's really, really difficult to film anything. And I'm just way too distracted by everything else that's going on and I just can't get it done. So through the summer, I don't film. And YouTube is my main way to let people know what's going on and where we're at and what products are coming out. So if I have a new goodie bag coming out, people know about it because they're watching my vlogs and they know about it through YouTube. So through the summer, when there weren't any YouTube videos coming out, I very well could have worked on a goodie bag or a goodie box, but I would not have had any way to promote it. And then from there, we had a goodie box in September. Then we had an autumn product launch, which I don't like to do a product launch and a goodie box or bag at the same time because I do not have the bandwidth, the capacity to market both of them. So for me, it's one or the other. And this is where the goodie box subscription is like really going to come into its own because I do have the capacity to create a new goodie box or goodie bag every single month. I don't have the capacity to market a new goodie bag every single month. That's basically doing a product launch every single month, which, you know what, if you had a huge team of staff, great, that would be absolutely doable. I do not. There's me and Frank is not pulling his weight when it comes to marketing the business. So, you know, it's just me pretty much. So putting the goodie bags on a subscription basis means that I can still create them, but people are already signed up for them and I don't have to spend quite so much time doing a big launch and a big marketing campaign for them when I have less time for it. So that is something that is changing for 2025 off the back of something that has actually done really, really well. And the goodie box subscription is available now. I will leave a link in the description for it and I will run you through very quickly how it's going to work. I'm hosting it on Patreon. The sign up for Patreon is really, really simple. And if you sign up for Patreon, you can follow other creators on there as well. It doesn't just have to be for me, if that makes sense. There are other creators on there too. But I'm hosting the Goodie Box subscription on Patreon. Depending on where you are in the world, it starts from £15 a month and you will get a goodie box delivered to your door every month without you having to think about it. So if you are the kind of person that wants to get a goodie bag or a goodie box every month and you've missed out in the past, I know that has happened. People have been like, oh, they're sold out already. This is a way to guarantee that you're going to get one because I will make enough for the amount of patrons that I have. From now until March, the goodie box is limited to a certain number. And once we go past there, I will review it again. And if we have more people that want to join, then I can up that number. But for now, we are limited because I already have ordered in the stock for the goodie bags and boxes up till March. I have never been this organized in my life, people. So, you know, I feel like we can just take a moment to appreciate that. So yeah, the goodie box subscription is limited to a certain number. And then once we reach that number, it will be on lockdown until either somebody leaves or we get to March, and then I can release more spaces for it, basically. The way it works is you have until the 15th of the month to sign up, including from now. So if you want to get the January goodie box, you need to sign up before the 15th of January. If you sign up after the 15th of January, then you will be in the February collection. So you have until the 15th to sign up. After the 15th, your first goodie box will be the goodie box for the following month. So if you want the January goodie box, you need to sign up by the 15th of January, and then goodie boxes will be shipped and posted on the last week of the month. So you have until the 15th to sign up, and then you will receive your goodie box the last week of the month. It's all very, very exciting. I'm super excited for it. On Patreon, I currently have 3 tiers. I have that tip jar tier, which is not part of the goodie box subscription. We have the UK goodie box tier, which includes UK shipping, excluding Northern Ireland. And unfortunately, I'm not able to ship to Europe anymore, EU Europe at least, anymore, due to new legislation that came in. And it's a lot of red tape, and there are things that need to be put in place that as a micro business, I just cannot afford to do. So currently, shipping to EU destinations is not happening. It's not anything I have control over. It is something that's set by the EU, but it is something that as a tiny business, I can't afford to jump through all the hoops they're asking us to jump through. Apologies on that one. The other goodie box tier is the international goodie box tier, but do check that your country or territory is included in that. Currently, I am shipping to USA, Canada, Australia, and non-EU European territories. Please check, if you want to sign up for the Patreon, that you sign up for the one that corresponds to your shipping address. That's kind of the boring stuff. The exciting stuff is the goodie boxes. I have already posted a teaser on my Patreon for those that want to see the theme of the January goodie box, but since I'm still fully in Christmas break mode, I haven't put any proper content together for it yet. But those who are already signed up to my Patreon, there are a few, because like I said in the last video I did for 2024, if you sign up to my mailing list, you get to hear stuff first. So yeah, if this is the first you're hearing of it and you're like, what the heck, I had no idea, make sure you sign up to my mailing list or join the Patreon, because those are the 2 places where you're going to hear about stuff first. I will leave the link in the description for the Patreon, which includes the tip jar tier and the goodie box subscription, and I shall go back to drinking tea, sitting on the sofa, playing Stardew Valley and eating chocolates until I am officially back in the studio.